Simon, what do you want to ask?
Do you think that Wales should have the same powers as Scotland?
OK. Topical. Omar. Should Wales have the same powers as Scotland?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course Wales should have the same powers as Scotland. I think it's been long overdue that Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland, I know Northern Ireland's got its own situation, but it's been long overdue for Wales and Scotland to both forge their own identities. And I don't know why we've been holding back. I think we were, like me and Leanne were having a chat just before we went on air, and I think Wales is just Scotland with just a bit of an inferiority complex, and I think we should get rid of it. Yeah. I think we should get rid of it. Look around, look at this amazing building, look at the music, look at the culture, look at the art, look at the history, look at the poetry, look at the comedy, yeah, everything. Yeah, not just, you could just go on all day. And I think it's about time we went for it. I think.
So are you in favour of independence?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think Plaid Cymru's got quite a mature approach to it, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, that we are working towards independence. And I think maybe one of the mistakes they made in Scotland is sort of getting ahead of themselves. But I think and this works for England as well, by the way. Just like Wales and Scotland have to stop viewing themselves as the subjugated sort of junior partner of England, it's about time England realised that, oh, you know what, we're not a colonial power anymore, we don't own the colonies anymore, let's move on and rediscover ourselves. And you know what, if there's a better English identity, you won't have a vacuum for idiots like the EDL or Britain First or whoever else is coming in. So we all need to rediscover gesticulate.
I just want to make the comment that in honesty, I'm very proud to be in Welsh, etc., but we're not a country that's actually ready to be independent. We know where our bread is being buttered as we speak. We know that we still rely on England for lawmaking powers, and substantially we rely on England to provide some substance of money to us. And the Welsh wouldn't be daft enough to try and break that union as it currently stands until we have more devolution of lawmaking powers, etc., to look after ourselves.
OK. Gentleman here, would you agree that Wales isn't ready for independence?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I mean, if you go back to something like the 1997 devolution referendum, the turnout was about 50.4%. And I agree that was quite, well, you know, I'm a politics student, all the figures are ingrained.
Statistician in the audience tonight.
But, I mean, as leader of Plaid Cymru, do you think that there's been a lot of change since then? More people are actually now interested in further devolution and independence?
Yeah.
I do think more people are interested, and I also accept the point that you make. Most people in Wales would be nervous about us moving to independence quickly, and that's because our economic position is not the same as Scotland's economic position. But that doesn't mean we can't get to that point, and I think we should have the ambition and the plan to have a successful economy. And once we've got a successful economy, then our people can take the choice that people in Scotland took last week. And, you know, the principle that the people closest to a decision are the best people to make that decision is one I think probably we can all agree with. And the second principle, in Wales, and the same goes for Scotland too, we're both presided over by a government in Westminster that neither countries voted for. And the policies, the austerity, the cuts that have been meted out to us by the Conservative and Liberal Democrat coalition in London are not good for our people, particularly in our poorest communities in either Wales or in Scotland. And so that's the debate they had in Scotland last week. And I was in Scotland a couple of times, and it was a fantastic debate. 85% of the people turned out, and everybody, bar no one that I met anyway, was engaged in the process. And if we could have a debate like that in Wales, then the apathy that we've seen and the growing support for parties of the far right, I think we would be able to stem, and we would be able to generate an interest in politics, the like that I've never seen before in this country.
OK, gentleman up there.
I'm a very proud Welshman and things like that, but as a global community, we're supposed to be coming together. Why would you want to break away? Like, as... Last week, the debate in Scotland was being framed around Scotland given the opportunity to join the world community. It's not a case of breaking up or separating. It's voting yes to become a member of the world community as a nation state in its own right.
That's such an important point. I mean, I work in America sometimes, and I'm sick of people asking me where I'm from and saying Wales, and then having to say next to England. I don't want to have to say that.
Well, you still would have to, wouldn't you? You still would have to.
What's that?
You still would have to.
I still would
Wouldn't
have
make
to.
any difference.
No, I think if we've got our seat at the UN, I think that'll help a little bit. I think so.
It won't help with Americans' geography, trust me. Angela.
I'm totally with the gentleman over there. I think in this very, very disturbing age of fractured societies, from the end of the spectrum where we have dysfunctional family life right through to what's happening globally in the world at large. We are a union. The union is stronger than the sum of its parts.
Do you feel like that about the European Union as well?
I think the European Union is an entirely different conversation to... No, and I think it's a really... I think it's typical politicking. It's typical politicking to kick in Europe every so often when it just sort of suits the range of the debate.
Union.
I'm talking about the United Kingdom. I'm talking about the United Kingdom. We have men, I'm afraid, in this country fought together in the First and Second World War. We have to look at what each area of our communities definitely need, but I don't understand why the need for borders and separation and devolution. I mean, they're talking about, I'm from Manchester, and you know, they're talking about devolving powers to Manchester. I think we have to have a fair, egalitarian and equal society. It noses back to our original
borders
debate.
Except for Europe.
But we are a United Kingdom. We are a country. I don't understand.
There's borders in Europe. There's borders.
Yes, maybe there are borders in Europe. We are talking about... No, you see, if you want to simplify it, that's up to you, because you started off talking about the needs of the Welsh people. We're talking about the needs of the Scottish people. I think we are much, much stronger as a union. And yes, Westminster has to understand that there may be needs in the broader communities of Wales and Scotland that are addressed from a London-centric government.
OK, Angela, going to go back into the audience
breaking
now.
up the union.
Yes, lady here, please.
I completely disagree about the independence. I don't think we should go independent. Scotland is a country that has natural resources such as oil, and therefore that would make them rich if they were to go independent. Whereas Wales doesn't have natural resources.
We used to have coal.
Coal. You used to, yeah, but then
But we never kept the money from
What's
it,
to be
did we?
achieved by being independent?
So I don't think we could go independent because it would send us into debt.
OK,
It would if we did it
lady at the back
right,
here.
but long term it doesn't.
I'm English, and personally I love Wales, and I'd be gutted if they left the Union.
Yeah,
but I can completely understand where it's coming from, because I think a lot of us here probably don't feel represented by the Westminster government, and it's just not working. We're not getting our representation. We're being led by Westminster instead of being led by the entire union.
Okay,
so I can see why you want to leave.
What are people saying on the power bar?
Online world, and see what people think at home. Should Wales have the same powers as Scotland? 73%, so the overwhelming majority of our online audience are engaging at home, say hashtag free speech yes. And this is a question for you, Leanne. Is it really representative of the people in Wales, independence, when 17% of people didn't want to go for it in a recent poll?
No, and I think those polls ask people, do you want Wales to become independent now? And I understand the reticence behind that because of our economic position. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't aspire to have a more successful economy. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't aspire to be an independent country, because independence is normal. It's the state that most countries in the world are in. And we are the anomaly, actually.
Absolutely.
OK. Yes, gentleman here.
Thank you. I would like to say I'm also English and I'm studying Wales and I love Wales. What does the panel think of perhaps having a federalised United Kingdom rather than it being independent?
Well,
Yeah.
that could work if the constituent parts were equal. But given that one part of the 4 or 3.5 countries that would make up that federation is so huge, then there would be a big power imbalance. So that could be difficult.
Do you think that if you want to have an independent Wales, that it would be fair for the people of England to take part in some kind of referendum to ask whether you should stay or not?
No, I think people in England should have a referendum and a debate about what they want for their political arrangements. And if that results in an English Parliament or regional bodies within England, then that is a matter for people in England. But I think people in Wales should decide what happens in Wales, just as people in Scotland decided last week about the future of Scotland.
What do you think, Laura?
Well, I think
It's interesting. I lean as well towards this idea that togetherness is, something beneficial, especially on a world stage. But I think that it's very easy to say that when you're English. And if that's what we want, and if that's something that we think is beneficial for all of us, if we think that we have strength in numbers, that it's better for us to be together, then I think that we have to make sure that countries like Wales and Scotland have the devolution of powers that they need to do what's right for them. And actually, I was really shocked to discover earlier on that Wales has less of a devolution of those powers. I wasn't even aware of that. And I think that if we want the benefits that come from standing alongside Scotland and Wales, then we have to also give them the powers that they need for it to be beneficial for them.
I just wanted to go back to, Angela, what you said about World War II, and you were saying, talking about like men fighting together during World War II. And I just wanted to use it as an example of like everyday sexism, because you completely ignored the contribution that the women of this country, but also the other countries, who had to take over men's jobs and who had to come out of, for example, the house and childcare and all the things that they'd normally done up to that point. And
That's a spectacular example of what my problem is with feminism. I just made a very generalised point about men going out to battle together. I didn't in any way suggest that women hadn't made a very, very important contribution to the war effort.
Okay. Also, let's stick talking about devolution, probably. Gentleman here.
Very unhelpful.
Come back on to your point when you said about Wales being devolution. Scotland and England has a youth parliament. Why can't Wales have one? They've just recently got rid of the national voice for young people under the age of 25 called Funky Dragon, Children and Young People Assembly for Wales. Why can't we have that in Wales? Why can't we be exactly like England and Wales? England and Scotland, sorry.
Well, first I did. Don't call it Funky Dragon. Leah?
No, I agree with the point. There does need to be a forum for young people, and it's absolutely unacceptable that a system like that exists in England and Scotland, and it doesn't exist in Wales any longer.